What's happening? It's Sir William. Today we're in Johnson Valley, California for 2023 King of the Hammers, presented to you by Tread Magazine. Let's go check out some racing. All right, so we're getting lined up here at the Everyman Challenge, and one of my favorite classes of the Everyman Challenge is the 4600 class. And as you can see right here with this Jeep, this is pretty much a stock class for the most part, using that word sparingly. They've got like 35-inch tires, which is manageable with most off-roaders, and then they've got all the stock suspension geometry that they came with from the factory. So they can't change any of that stuff. For the most part, for race cars wise, this is as stock as it gets. Let's go check in with our friends over at Rusty Nail Racing. Yeah, the drivers always get special treatment. Is that the reason that he's wearing sunglasses?
Exactly.
And we're not?
Always.
All right,
every
so
time.
We're trying not to get run over by cars while we catch up with everybody. Our friends over here at Rusty Nail Racing. This is Derek.
Henry Luche.
Henry Luche.
Yeah.
Listen to that name, bro. He's going to win just off the name alone.
I wish that's all it took.
Yeah. We had to make sure we sent a special note to the announcers how to pronounce
Henry
it.
Luche. All right, so take us through what we're racing here.
All right, this is a 2012 Jeep Wrangler. It's a four-door, Super Duty axles. Other than that, it's stock transmission, stock transfer case, stock motor, because that's 4600. You gotta have stock motor, stock transmission.
So that's my favorite part about it is, for the most part, and I might have it wrong, but for the most part, it's 35-inch tires, right? Stock geometry on the suspension. You can't change out any of that kind of craziness. Yep. So you can't make an independent front suspension to make it really, you know, eat the whoops.
Correct.
But you can still come out here and you can still compete and, I mean, pretty much stock.
It's supposed to be off the shelf, you know, OE manufacturer style racing. Like, that's what it's supposed to be. Get your daily driver, put a cage in it, you know, make sure everything's right, make sure all this stuff passes safety and tech, and go racing. That's what the class is all about. It's the driver's class. This is the class that, I mean, we're biased, but this is our favorite class.
It's my favorite class, hands down. Now, there's a couple different classes of cars, though, running the Everyman Challenge. So you guys are in the 4600, which is basically the stock class.
Right, and there's
then
4500, which is the modified, which allows them to run a 37-inch tire, but they can run 2 shocks per corner. They just have to retain 5 foot of factory frame rail. Otherwise, they're mostly tube chassis cars. Like, they're like a step below the 44 cars. Okay. Then there's 48, which they are full tube chassis. The only rule is solid front axle, 37-inch DOT tires. That's really the only rule to 4800 class.
And that's considered the bomber chassis?
There's a lot of bomber chassis that are in that class. So that's, you know, a lot of retired 44 cars, they're in the 48 class. Like just another guy on our team who's running the 819, he's in a retired 44 car. It's a Jimmy's chassis that is a purpose-built Ultra 4 race car that they just went from 40s down to 37s and went to a single shock per corner. They're here to race and party.
Went from 40s down to 37s. I like how you put that.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. So how fast are these things, in this class, how fast can we expect to see them cook across the desert?
Depending on the class, I mean, the Broncos, they're fast. They're really fast. Those are purpose-built Ford performance race cars.
Which, by the way, if we're talking about stock cars, I don't know any stock cars that come with portals, and I kind of saw portals on those, but we'll give it to them.
It's within the rules.
Hey,
that's racing.
You know, you got to do a lot to beat a leaf-sprung Toyota is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, just saying, they've only won it once. A shitty old Toyota with a 22 RE banging off the rev limiter in the 4619 has won it twice. That's all we got to say.
And they winched up chocolate, all of them, all 3 of them last year. So it'll be fun to watch. So how fast, though? How fast can we expect to see it?
So I'm thinking across the lake bed, we'll probably be going 65, 75.
Okay.
In the flat areas.
Which is a lot in the whoops, because these whoops are crazy. You'll get in a pattern of being on top of the whoops, and the next thing you know, you come to one that's a little bit more spread out, and you can't stop because all the weight is off the front end, and you just got to hold on and grit your teeth.
That's right.
That's what I do in my truck. I don't know what you guys do.
Pretty much the same thing, just a little faster, a little bit more violent. That's it.
It's a little scary at times.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
But we got good notes. We got a good navigator. We stayed up last night checking the course out, going over notes. We got a little cheat sheet that's on Derek's side, and he's going to be looking at it, calling out dangers, things like that. Stay as fast and as safe as we could.
So who's in charge of winching?
I am.
You're in charge of winching.
Yeah, I am Derek the mountain goat.
So you're in charge of making sure he doesn't have to winch.
That's right.
And he's
That's
in
right.
charge of winching just in case.
Yeah, also, yeah, it's his job as much as it is my job. Make sure I see the right line, make sure, you know, we're all on the same page. His job to keep the car alive, get us to the finish line. My job is to make sure we don't make wrong turns and we don't break the fucking car.
That's awesome. Take me through, like, what's a conversation like between a driver and a co-driver as we're cooking across the desert at 70 miles an hour?
I knew I shouldn't have drank that coffee this morning.
I really wish I could pee right now.
I got a front and a back catheter.
Exactly.
Double layer diaper.
Bathroom.
I mean, when you're cooking,
It's just constant heads up, danger, you know, calling things out at long distance to where he can start really getting the vehicle ready to be in control for when he does need to check up, for when he needs to change line, because the whoops, they change because we're the last cars off the line today. So all the big tires and big horsepower leaves before us. So
Oh, yeah.
the course is totally different by the time we get to it.
That's
so
a good point.
Calling dangers and things like that at distance to where the driver knows what's coming, knows how to prepare the vehicle, and to where we're not hitting things not prepared. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to hit hit a big whoop or a big G out at speed, not know what's coming and wad the car up in the desert, because the desert is where we just got to survive. We got to survive through the desert.
That's
be
before you even
consistent,
make
be
it to the
clean.
rock crawling.
That's right. But when we get to the rocks, that's where we shine. Solid axle, big steering angle, big axles, you know, ready to go.
Truck's
So,
dialed in.
We're ready.
Everything's good to go?
Yeah, as
We're
ready
good to
as the
go.
old Jeep can be.
Hell yeah. Well, we're going to follow you around out there. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Heck yeah,
guys.
man.
Hell
Thanks
yeah.
for coming, brother.
Yeah, dude.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Yeah. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about old leaf spring Toyotas. Like, this is what you see in the Everyman Challenge, and this is why I like it so much. Just an old school Toyota truck out here beasting through the desert. All right, so right here is kind of like the main spot in Hammertown, if you will. So Hammertown is like a city that is just popped up in the middle of the lake bed here. And right here, they have a fire burning constantly. They've got the Jumbotron over there. They've got everybody commentating the race right here in the gray box. And then the winners of each series or each race that they have will actually pull up onto the main stage. And then you'll see tomorrow during the Super 44s, they do the Star Spangled Banner and everything right there on that main stage too. It's a pretty cool deal right here in Hammertown. But let's go check in with the guys over at the start finish line. Maybe we can watch them actually take the green flag. All right, so we're here at the short course and we're watching the 4600 take the green flag right now. Those are the stockish Broncos that I was talking about earlier. They're taking the green flag. They're gonna start this area right here, this short course area, and then they're gonna go on a 31-mile loop all the way around the desert. So the cool thing about these guys is the fact that it's not just running through the desert, right? You gotta go through rocks, you gotta go through desert, you gotta go fast, you gotta go slow. The even cooler thing for you guys though is the fact that you got these drones flying around adding a whole nother dynamic. It's much easier to watch this on the TV or the computer or whatever you find this on at King of the Hammers or Ultra4Racing.com. All right, so we're here at Turkey Claw. Right now we're watching the Legends race up. The really cool thing about Turkey Claw is it's a super technical rock garden. So the key here is to save your tires, save your wheels, and try to save your suspension, but make it as fast as possible. And as you can see, these guys are just bouncing all over these huge boulders that are down here. Here in just a minute, we'll get to see the 4600s come through, which in my opinion is gonna be a little bit more fun because these guys, look at that. Hammers, baby. So like I said, it's super technical, which is really cool, but they also kind of get bunched up around here. So you get to see a lot of passing, you get to see a lot of beasting up the hills. You got to duck because sometimes they're gonna throw rocks at you. Like, check this guy out. So dope. We've already seen, since we've been here, only 10 to 15 minutes since we've been here, we've already seen 4 flat tires. So this thing is absolutely brutal on the tires. You gotta make sure that your tires are good. You gotta make sure your suspension's good. And this is just one obstacle. All right, so this is gonna be the first of that 4600 class. We just watched the Legends come through, and those were those solid axle, dedicated race trucks with the 37-inch tires. This looks like the first of the 46, yep, 4621. This is the Everyman Challenge. This is the semi-stockish class, if you will. 35-inch tires, stock suspension geometry, minus the Broncos. They get a pass and got portals. It's Ford thing. So this is one of the really cool things about King of the Hammers that to me sets it apart from any of the other races out there, is the fact that the co-driver will have to get out from time to time and get the vehicle over these rock challenges or any kind of challenge that they might come across. All right, so you can see here down at the bottom in the obstacles here, they've actually got preset lines. So the co-driver just has to get out, goes down into this line, and then they can perform their recovery. But it's still pretty cool that that is part of the race, actually. Now this particular truck's got a flat tire, and they're trying to get it safely down, and they made it all the way from down there and then got hung up on this one rock. Call that being turtled. All right, here comes Justin and Rusty Nail Racing. This is the Legend. So this is a dedicated race truck here. Still part of the Everyman Challenge. So you can see they're making their way on down. Got the co-driver out. Just walking them through, making it look easy. Now Justin's won this thing in the Everyman Challenge, I think, if I'm not mistaken, at least 2 years. And typically he's been in a 4600 class, old school Toyota truck. And so basically he's taken this old school clapped out Toyota truck with leaf springs and gone out here and dominated year after year until Ford factory got involved with the Broncos, and then so now he's up in class. All right, so here comes the number 4619 Rusty Nail Racing Toyota truck, just making his way down. The real cool thing about watching these trucks is not only are they, you know, just like normal trucks, but they also have smaller tires. So it's super, super important to put your tires in the right place in order to safely get down this obstacle. And as you can see, there's no problem with the Rusty Nail Racing Toyota. All right, so I'm here at the Miller's Brother Racing Camp, and I'm talking to Jan with Elka Suspension. Tell us what we got going on in the back here. There's like a total frenzy back here.
Yeah, it's total chaos here. We just finished racing with them in the 4600 class, which is the UTV class. They did really great. They podiumed second and third place.
Nice.
Now they're trying to prep the car for tech. They're going to be racing 4400 class tomorrow.
That's the big ones.
The big one, the big boys car. And they're bringing like a small package, super, super high performance car right there.
A two-seater side-by-side is going to go against unlimited 44. Now, take me through that 4400 class, because my perception of it is that you just take all the money you can and you throw it at this vehicle, make it the biggest, baddest, and fastest to go through all these obstacles.
Yeah.
Am I right on?
That's about it. You know, like, I mean, you see a 1,000 horsepower car with like 42-inch tires, like the whole package. It's all there. But these guys, they're bringing like 35-inch tire and a stock side-by-side engine on a custom chassis. And honestly, they're doing really well. Qualified 10 and 12 in qualification. That's pretty good. So
I mean, yeah, we're talking lots of money in these rigs too.
Yeah, like we have like $500,000 rigs here, really like big prototypes coming with Ford and portals and some awesome stuff. It's a great class.
And so how far, because obviously this is not stock anymore, right?
Well,
how far away from stock is it though?
Well, it's quite far. I mean, even the chassis is all custom made, so they're using our coilover with our production coilover that we specifically tuned for them. We spent about 2 weeks on that shocks, making it perfect for that chassis. And then they added also our new bump stops. So we designed a new bump stops that came out of the market this week. So they're going to be using it also. So it's the first time that we see a side-by-side car using bump stops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the limited straps, but not the bump stops.
No, exactly. So other than that, they use stock motors. The rest is probably non-stock. So
is it belt driven?
It is belt driven.
Really? And that's still the same too?
It's all stock stock transmission, stock engine, stock belt, everything. So yeah.
That's surprising.
It is surprising.
Well, that's really cool. So take me through Elka. What are you guys doing? Obviously, you made the suspension for it.
Yeah.
What else are you working on out here?
So Elka Suspension has been in business for over almost 25 years. We started in the ATV, UTV business. So now we're going to bigger markets, side-by-side trucks, overland products, and also getting into, we're going to come out with a shock catalog, which is our shocks that are for buggies and builders and everything. So we're going in that direction, but we've been at it for so long, and our DNA is in racing. So we're trying to support our racers the best that we can. We have some racers in Baja, in 4400, 4600. We also have racers in ATVs and
Nice.
and a lot of stuff. So
Very well represented out here.
yeah, very nice.
All right, so we talked a little bit about what it's going to take in order to take one of these machines and compete against the Ultra 44 cars. But the other thing that we talked about is some new stuff you got coming down the line. So even though you're competing with an Elka suspension setup now, tell us what you got new on this. This is not the race buggy.
It is not the race buggy. So at Elka, we always want to push the technology forward the more that we can. So one of the technologies I've been working on for a long time actually is our composite spring. So springs look like they're like just springs, you know, but you can do so much better than a steel spring. So what we're coming out is a composite spring. So why a composite spring? Because it's so light. It's incredibly light and very, very live. So this spring is being tested now on the pre-runners. They're not going to be raced because we're still in the development and making sure that this product performs perfectly. But it's been ran like for a week and a half here, been beating to death. And
so far so good?
So far so good. The tests were honestly perfect this year, so we can continue and push our research and development to hopefully bring them to the market late this year.
That's awesome, man. Well, I can't think of a better way to test out a spring than to bring it right here in Johnson Valley with all the whoops, the rocks, I mean, it's just every kind of imaginable terrain. So this is a real torture test for it, and I mean, it looks like it's doing good to me.
I mean, it was flawless. Honestly, it was perfect.
And they're pre-running the course with this thing, and so they're doing the whole course.
Oh yeah, and multiple times. So
That's
I'm guessing they have between 40 and 60 hours of, I mean, abuse, total abuse, and they work perfect. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is.
And we'll look out for the folks over at Elka. They got some cool stuff coming down the pipeline. One last question, how do I get a ride in one of these?
Oh man. I don't think you're going to be able to have one of those. Honestly, I had the privilege of running them early in December when we were here for pre-running and tuning. And these machines are so incredibly fast, man. I mean, it's mind-bending. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, thanks for talking with us.
It's a pleasure, man.
All right, man. All right, so now we've traveled all the way across the lake bed into Chocolate Thunder, and you can see the 4600s are starting to come down Chocolate Thunder. This is a tricky course, but then when you do it with 35s, it's totally different. Luckily, they're going down, so gravity's on their side. They just got to position it in the right spot so that way they don't just tumble down the thing. Once they get down, then they're going to circle back around and then go up, and they should be on their second lap by now. See what I mean by sliding down the rocks? Whenever you slide down the rocks, you just want to make sure that you keep your tires in a spot they're not going to get hung up into a hole. And it's crazy because now at this point in the race, all the classes have kind of got jumbled together. That's a 4500, and as you saw, the 4600, which was the kind of stock class, was in front of them. There was also the one Bronco that's come through already, and he was way ahead of all these guys. So one of the coolest things about hanging out at Hammers is definitely all the sideline activities. This being one of them. We came here to watch race trucks. Instead, we're watching people just hammer up this hill. Keep in it. Dude, he's got it, bro. Somebody said there's a hill around here. Oh, two-wheel drive wonder. Yeah, back up and start over. So the trick to this is wheel speed. You really need to have your wheels spinning consistently. Being air down helps out tremendously, and four-wheel drive is also good. But luck is probably the #1 thing. So down in the flat spot, right here where he's stuck, he needs to straighten out his wheels, because if he doesn't, then you could flip over. But hey, straight! Straight! Jeez. Straight! Straight! See how he's drifting off? That is not good. That's the last position you want to be in. So if you get up to this spot and you get stuck, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to back straight down the hill, all the way back to where it's flat, where you see those three trucks over there lining up. From there, you put it in third gear. Second gear is what I use. And then four-wheel drive if you got it. If you don't, put it in third gear, two-wheel drive, and just pin it all the way up and hope for the best. I mean, I guess I can't really explain how to do it. I can just show you how to do it. All right, so we're here at the Olaf camp at King of the Hammers. This is the Overland Experience at King of the Hammers. Tell us what we got going on, Christian.
Well, we got a lot of events. We've got the Warren winch people out here doing trainings on how to get out of bad situations when you get yourself stuck. We had the Rebel Rally gals out here teaching us how to use map and compass to figure out where we are and how to get where we want to go. And we had Firestone out here. We have a lot of different brands out here promoting stuff, and a lot of people out camping out of the dust of Hammertown.
Out of the dust is the main thing. So if you can't notice, we're inside a shift pod, which you happen to know a thing or two about shift pods.
A couple of things, yeah.
Yeah. So we're inside what looks like a Mars landing area in the middle of a lake bed, which is basically what it is minus the Mars. But these shift pods, we're out here and it is windy as hell, and we're sitting in the nice comfort of the shift pod. So how many of these these little setups like this do you have out here on the lake bed?
Well, this is the main area, and then we have a lot of these units in Hammertown for the staff.
Okay.
And we've got a couple of other customers that have camps with maybe 5 or 10 units in different spots.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. So the idea behind this is to get people out of the main lake bed, which is not only is it dusty, like we mentioned, but it's also dangerous, right? Like there's a lot of stuff going on at night. There's a lot of stuff going on. So you've got a little spot here, kind of an oasis out. It's kind of far out here. You can still see the stars, I imagine.
Yeah. We can see the stars are about 3 clicks from Hammertown. Out of the dust and the noise, the kids out zipping around at 3 in the morning on their little motorcycles, making racket. So we just kind of back out a little bit, and we're in the middle of the track, so we can go right over here and see part of that, the racetrack over there, and go over there or up on that hill and get some good views. It's really nice.
We went up there earlier, so I mean it's a whole nother experience. And I've been saying the whole time that you could come here 5 years in a row, 10 years in a row, maybe even 20 years in a row, and you can experience something totally different, and it'll be a totally different, cool experience. And this is another one of the cool experiences.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We get a lot of people out here like, I had no idea this was here, and it's so cool, and what can we camp with you? And yeah, sure, come on out and check it out. And then we get a lot of people like work the pit crews for the first week, and then they're done, and they're like, we can't wait to get out here with you guys, get some peace and quiet. So then the firecrackers come out, and
well, I mean, there is some party.
Yeah, there's some. Yeah,
you got to have some party, and it is King of the Hammers ultimately.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about these shift pods in general, Like I did touch on the fact that we're out here in 20 some odd mile an hour winds, I would imagine, maybe even higher than that.
Yeah.
And it's also during the daytime, the sun just bakes on you out here.
Right.
So we're in this shaded area. I know I don't look like it because I've been out in the sun all day, but we're in the shaded area and it's not hot in here. It's you would think that it would be just baking in here. It's not hot in here, and we're not getting the the abrasiveness of the wind. So take me through how this is all done.
Well, most tents are made out of a single layered nylon. They're colored blue, green, whatever, and that those colors, when the UVA light hits it, it creates heat, and that's why the tents get so hot. Our shelters are made with a 12-layer composite fabric, and we've got silver on the outside and a lot of nanotech coatings and that, and it reflects the heat of the sun out in the daytime and reflects your body heat back in at night, and it keeps you warm. It's got a thermal insulation layer in the middle, and the design, the geodesic design, really sheds the wind. So it could be blowing 40 miles an hour outside and you really don't even know it.
Yeah, as long as you strap it all down
Yeah,
and make sure it doesn't go
down.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how does it do with moisture?
Moisture is really good. You know what a lot of people don't realize is when you zip everything up and you seal it up and you breathe, you're breathing out a lot of moisture. And as the moisture gets into the air, it gets on the walls are cold, and then it condensates.
And then the wind blows through it, and then it creates like a swamp cooler.
Yeah. But if it's just your breath and you leave the vents open, that goes away. If you're using a buddy heater, that creates more moisture. And the big problem is when in any kind of tent, or even your laundry, when you leave it in the washing machine too long, it starts growing stuff. If you close it up and you don't air it out, then any product, even the rooftop tents and stuff, it creates a problem.
Yeah. Well,
just dry everything out. In the desert, it's not such a problem, but you go to Yosemite or something, and
yeah. Well, the big thing too, whenever you travel, if you travel any length of time or any length of distance, say you're out for 1 week, 2 weeks, whatever it is, you find that there's no such thing as a single day rainstorm. It tends to be like a 3-day situation. And whenever you're just riding around with something that, is just soaking in all the moisture. So I like that. So it just sheds it right on off the outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keeps it insulated on the inside, so that way you don't have to worry about the condensation.
Yeah.
And as long as it's aired out properly on here. Then, yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
That's good
wind
deal.
and rain. We actually did a test at John Brown University, and you can look it up on YouTube. It's really interesting. The engineering department pinned it all down, and they got the Wolf out, which is a 4-bladed propeller, 8 feet in diameter, and a 350 cc engine.
And this stood up to the wind?
109 miles an hour before,
Wow.
before it took off downrange.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, 109 miles an hour. Listen, if you're camping in more than 109 miles an hour, you got far more things to worry about.
Yeah, trees and 2x4s and car parts.
Well, that's awesome, man. Well, this is a cool camp. You got that hellaciously cool lounge in here. You got the Shift Pod couch, the Shift Pod recliner, so to speak, over there, and then footrest, and cool stuff, man. And thanks for providing a place where sometimes people don't want to come into the extreme madness that could be that King of the Hammers. So you provide a nice place that you can kind of get the mix of both worlds. And if you don't know anybody, you can come out here and you can meet some folks and get together around them. So that's pretty
We're the
cool.
stepping stone to the madness.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you get a little bit more comfortable when you got some people you're camped with. So that's really cool. Well, thanks for putting us on.
Yeah,
thanks for having us. And it's Olaf Events. So take me through who's Olaf. Where can they find you?
That's Rory. Rory Cannell, and he's really the organizer of this, and we come in and sponsor it with him. And
sweet.
And so he's a good guy, and he knows a lot of people and makes a lot of connections, and he's done a lot for the community over the years.
Awesome, man. And Shift Pods, obviously, where can they find Shift Pods at?
Shiftpod.com.
Sweet, man. Thanks for taking us through.
Yeah, absolutely.
After catching up with Christian, we went to check out the recovery class presented by Warren Winches.
All right, so a couple of things that we want to talk about here when it comes to the winches, right? I'm going to put my gloves on before I say, handle this. I look weird. Oh, here, thank you. I appreciate that. So, once you got your gloves on, everybody gets kind of familiar with a couple of basic uses of the winch. One of the things that I like to do when it comes into these scenarios is once you have your free spool and engaged lever that's here, right? So you can put the winch in a free spool that's going to disengage the gears from the motor to allow you to spool the drum. So now you can grab onto this and pull that out. Now, if you don't play with your winch enough, what can happen here is that gets bound up and gets really, really hard. So using this is a really, you want to maintain and check your gear just like anything else, right? So again, when I get into a recovery scenario, what I prefer to do is take a lot of line off the drum, right? I want to be able to pull all of that stuff out there before I ever get to going to engage this and then accessing my winch controller or utilizing this. But one of the things that we brought up again is about keeping that clean spool that's on their drum. And so you can take the line out and get set up for your recovery, but the problem that you run into, again, is if you layer this on here in a weird way, is like, what's the best way about being able to do this? So we want to kind of go through a couple of little things to kind of help assist you the next time you utilize to either helping a friend or yourself in that scenario of how to put the line back on the drum evenly. It kind of goes like this. Here, Carl, use that. Where's the controller here?
Okay, hang on a second.
Oh, that's a handy, look at this. That's a handy dandy spot right there. Real quick, a lot of people have been asking, a lot of people have been asking about what this is. So this is a rope splicing technique that we came up with last year out here on the lake bed. So what this does with the Ultra Hook, it's actually just a small piece of winch line that is spliced down with two Brummel lock splices. One is a large eyelet, one is a small eyelet, and it chokes down around the shackle tab at the end of the Ultra Hook. So the Ultra Hook was initially invented for this race, Ultra 4 Ultra Hook. That's where we got the name from it. And then we decided to call this the hammer loop. So essentially what you'll see on the front of these race cars, now these guys can literally walk up to any point on a race car with this and basically have like a built-in soft shackle to the end of the Ultra Hook. So now it's going to speed up that process even faster with them. And all that is just a simple piece of winch line. So a lot of people ask us, what this is all about, but that's one of the, kind of cool tools when it comes into using, right? Just thinking about the scenario and how you can utilize what you have available to make it even easier to use, right? So anyway, that's kind of the hammer loop. You'll see that being used on the race course like all this week. Now back to this. Okay, so we're in free spool. We just got done doing our winch pull, right? We're here. So one of the things about getting the line back on the drum effectively and safely, okay? So the thing that you don't want to do, here, Carl, you got the remote?
I'll grab it.
I'll have you. It's much easier when you're doing this with a buddy.
Here, we're going to do a bad example first?
Bad example first.
All right. Let it rip.
I was already starting out as a bad example, okay? I know you're right there. Again, you're going to have all this line out, right? A couple of these things are going to feel like no-brainers, but are very key and important. So here's a bad example, number one, right? See what's happening? Letting the winch line slide between your hands. That's a no-no. You'll see people do that all the time. Be like, I'm using synthetic rope. I don't need to have gloves on. No. What can happen here with this high modulus fiber, here, you can hold that, Carl.
Yep.
What's happening with this high modulus fiber, most synthetic winch line is all ultra high molecular weight polyethylene. Say that 10 times fast. So this high modulus fiber, it's got a hollow core. So if you push that together, you can see that it'll expand and open in there. And as this goes from tension and slack, even in a winch pull or dragging on the winch ground, it can pick up all these sharp rocks, and you never know what could be buried down in between these fibers. It's like the same thing of maintaining and caring for your equipment, right? As you're cleaning it, you're putting it into a bucket, and you're pushing out through. Look how much debris is just coming out of this just from Carl using these winches.
These winches were new when I showed up this
They were
week.
brand new when he got here. And look how much debris is just falling out of this line just from a couple of days, right? So it's also about maintaining the gear. So if you allow that line to go through your hand, there's a more risk that it's going to catch or tear or cut yourself. So that's a big no-no. One of the other no-nos to do is what Carl was doing here just at the beginning. Stepping on the line. Being self-aware of where this line is, so you're not close like...
Got it.
No, I lost my hat. Not that has been more dirty. Thank you, Carl. Stepping on the line, getting tangled up in this, having the line between your legs, big no-no. Because what can happen is if that's moving, right, and that's pulling in, or you have somebody else operating the vehicle, or you have slippery terrain, nobody wants that up in the inside. No. One of my favorite lines I've heard yet is from winches. It was Wenches with Winches. They were in the Salt Lake area, wonderful Jeep Girl Club. They say, don't get a line in the vagina, okay? Keep that in mind. You don't want that to happen to you. So the way to do this, when you're putting the line back on there, is orientate yourself correctly of where this is at. It's a very uncomfortable, it seems like it's so simple, but it's very uncomfortable, right, as human beings go. And what you're going to do is you're going to feed the line back onto the drum, hand over hand. The key that you're doing this, when you're doing it hand over hand like this, is you're keeping the rope away from your feet so you're not getting tripped up in it. As you're doing this, you're putting a little bit of tension on the drum at all times. And so that way you're being able to make sure that the layers are stacking up evenly, so it's not allowing the rope to dive down in between the layers. Just how that stays on there so evenly. It's also keeping, if there's ever a chance that something binds up in here, or this catches on something, you're already going to be stopped to know, okay, well, I got a problem, right? If it's on the ground here, Carl's going to have an awareness to know that, okay, I've got a better situation of where this is at, and orientating yourself. So you're putting in a little bit of weight of yourself to hold on to that. You're
just hold right here.
putting a little bit of...
You guys laugh, and we really have to go over this, and I like to go back on the safety stuff a lot because I deal with it on a regular, but you got to go over it. Like, we all know why this is a bad area, right? Like, I don't have to tell you, like, this thing's going to eat you. What I want you to hear, what I want to do, and this is an example I like to give people, and I used to have some winches that were really good for this. They were high speeds. You push this button, I let go. How much pulled in after I let go? So you're like, okay, right here, my hand's going to get caught. I'm going to let go of the button. But your finger's going to be back there when it stops.
So all electric winches have a little bit of run on, right? It's electric winch run on. So when you let go of that button, it's going to spool in a little bit. And some winches are going to be faster than others.
Some have a lot.
So that's always why you want to stay that distance away from this. So it's that good scenario where you're standing here and you want to have tension on the line and you're feeding it in hand over hand. You want to make sure the line is not in between your legs and that you have good control of that scenario. But it seems like it's so simple, right? You're all like, I could do that. Well, we're going to give you a chance. That's why we got both of these winches out here so everybody can take a turn practicing with us. Brad, can you grab that other remote over here? So we're going to pull some of this out. So again, I'm going to have Carl show you again, right? So Carl, go ahead. Especially when you get to the end of the line here. You're pulling that hand over hand. Now with the Ultra Hook, it's pretty easy. But see, even right there, like this, that little guard right there, it looked like the line wasn't even moving, but it already was pulling him in all the way in there. Right? You get to that slow, you get right here, and then that starts, so you wait for the person holding onto this to give you the signal, and you're ready to go to tap that thing in there and keep your fingers free and safe from that. All right, so here we are. We're in the middle of the desert, and this is the big dance, the Nitto Race of Kings, the 4400 class, the Unlimited series. You can see him beasting around this corner right here. He's gonna go all the way up the hill, then he's gonna go around the hill, and then they're gonna go beasting back through the desert, 100+ miles an hour, run what you brung, throw anything and everything at it, just be the biggest, baddest, fastest one out here, and that's the key to this race. All right, so we caught back up with our friends over at Miller Brothers Racing. Take us through, first off, introduce everybody.
I'm Cody Taylor. I'm co-driver for Cody Miller in the 221 car.
What's up? I'm Cody Miller. I drive the 221 car with his directions.
And I'm Chad Hughes. I drive with Hunter Miller, and I'm the co-driver with Hunter. So
nice.
We're in car 190.
Sweet, and you guys finished 7th and 8th, right?
Yeah. Right.
Now,
7th, 8th, yeah.
Just the fact that you guys went out and did how many miles?
I don't honestly.
I think it was 180 something, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 180 something miles, and about 80 of those are in the nastiest rocks in the world.
Yeah. So just the fact that you guys did all that in a side-by-side, not only did you do all that, but you did it with some of the toughest, strongest, nastiest vehicles out there. The Unlimited class, the main dance. You guys did it with Can-Ams. Now, is that the first, the second, the third time that's been done? How many times has that ever been done?
This is my
third year in a row.
I think fourth.
Fourth?
Yeah, I've done this every year that I've been out here. You know, the whole reason I got into the 4400 class is because I had a stupid bolt break in the first time I ever came out here, and it took me out of contention to win the thing in the UTV. And everybody, my whole family, my whole crew had left. And I was sitting there on the lake bed, and the 4400s were going through contingency and stuff. And my buddy said, "Hey, dude, why don't you just race against those trucks?" And we were like, "Okay, is that something we can do?" So we went out there and we did. We finished the race. Chad actually jumped in with me because, like I said, my whole crew had gone, and he lives out here. So he's like, "All right, I'll do it."
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
we did it.
You finished. We finished 15th that year.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we finished in the top 20 every year we've done this race. And this is my second year to finish 8th place, which I really, really wanted to do better this time. But it turned out fine. You know, I had one technical issue out there. I broke a rear axle right before the end of lap 2, and that cost us all of our time. You know, it took a little while to change it, and it took us out of the contention for the podium. But at that point, I think we were in about 3rd place. But you know,
Nice.
That's just the way it goes. We learn more every year, and we definitely have a way more badass car this year than what we had last year. And next year, I can guarantee you our car is going to be even more badass yet.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, I think it's pretty cool that you guys did a race, how many hundreds of miles it is, competed, and then finished in the top 10. So, awesome. Take me through what's your favorite part being the co-drivers. What's you guys' favorite part of the whole entire experience? Because you guys are getting you unstuck. You're fixing axles. You guys are giving directions. I mean,
Oh man, I had to
like
work
hearing
hard.
that because you get real tired. It's very physical. You're exhausted from hanging on, and then you got to get out and winch, and you got to pull the winch rope up to the rock, and you're trying to get this thing around a rock, and all the rocks are moving, and it's a lot of work. And then you're running to catch back up to the car because if you don't hurry, these guys will drive off and leave you.
Yeah. I saw one guy. He had to get out, and then he had to walk all the way up. The side of Chocolate Thunder.
Cody and I, we don't walk, we run.
Yeah.
We aren't allowed to walk.
Yeah, I guess my favorite part about today was we were a little behind in the race after having some repairs, and we rolled up on the lap 3 obstacle King's Veto, and there was about 4 or 5 big cars up ahead of us. Some of them flipped over, some of them with winch lines going across everywhere, and they were taking up the entire line up the hill. And we had the bright idea we were just going to start winching up the side of the mountain to the left where there's no trail at all. And the best part, even though it gassed me fully, was once we got over it and I realized we just passed like 5 cars right there, and they're just sitting there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we did the work and got in front of them.
Winching up the side of
What's
the hill.
funny is when we talked to him, I just was talking to Cody, and he goes, "How'd you all get up there?" I said, "Same side as you guys." So we did the same thing, and at that time there were only 2 cars stuck in it.
Yeah.
It was a cluster.
Now, are you guys communicating back and forth whenever you're going through the race here?
We're all on the same radio frequency.
Everybody's on the same radio frequency.
Right.
So-
Right on.
So if they see something in the trail ahead of us, then they'll say, "Hey, you know, try it this way. This is what worked for us," and or watch out for this hazard. You know, it helps.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part was the desert when we started out. These cars were so good. Yeah, you're used to bracing for that, but the suspension was so amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We could just hit stuff and you barely feel it.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, that's awesome, guys. Well, congratulations on the
thanks.
top 10 finish.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations on doing something that's not normally done and keeping it badass. All right, guys. Well, I'm hammered out. I really appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully you had just as much fun as I had making this video. Till next time, thank you, Tread Magazine. I'm Sir William Goes. Look me up on all the stuff if you want to follow the adventures. Till next time, you guys keep hanging in there like a hair on a biscuit. And remember, you can be happy if you mind to. Peace, y'all.